I had a good idea. I had a good time. I had a hard time. I had a nightmare. I had to walk home. I wish I had a car. We had lovely meal. He had already gone. He had just arrived. He had one daughter. I had my pen stolen. We had a rough time. I had my watch fixed. He had a strong alibi. He had to stay in bed. I wish I had seen her. We had a little water. He had a strange dream. He had dark brown hair. I had an asthma attack. I had him fix my watch. Tom has had a bad week. We had a narrow escape. You had plenty of time. I had my watch repaired. We had a large audience. We had a secret meeting. We had a wonderful time. He had trouble breathing. Mary had to go to school. We had a storm yesterday. Everybody had a good year. I had a good night's rest. I had a healthy breakfast. I had him repair my watch. We had a pleasant evening. We had a really good time. He had a bitter experience. He had an accident at work. He left after he had lunch. I had a good night's sleep. I had the boy carry my bag. I hope you had a nice trip. I wish we had won the game. She had a clear conscience. Dick had a traffic accident. He arrived after I had left. He had barely enough to eat. I had a phone call from him. I wish you had come with us. I wish you had told me that. I had sore legs the next day. I had to do everything alone. My wife had a baby last week. Bob must have had an accident. He had to work even on Sunday. I noticed that he had stopped. I wish I had a room of my own. I've had a lot of calls today. The troops had plenty of arms. Tom had a good time in Boston. We had a fire drill yesterday. He had decided on a new policy. He had his socks on inside out. He had no luck in finding work. I gave her all the money I had. I had a good time at the party. I had to take care of her baby. I wish I had had a camera then. I wish she had come last night. If I had money, I could buy it. Jane had a very boring weekend. She said she had a slight cold. The army had plenty of weapons. They must have had an accident. We had a lot of rain last year. We had a lot of snow last year. He admitted he had taken bribes. I wish I had a reason not to go. I wish I had been with her then. No one had anything left to say. Nobody had anything more to say. She had a basket full of apples. She had nothing to do yesterday. Dust had accumulated on the desk. He had no choice but to run away. I had a strange dream last night. I had my bicycle fixed yesterday. I had to postpone my appointment. I wish I had been there with you. She has had quite a lot to drink. He asked me what I had been doing. He had a lot of money in the bank. He's had many unhappy experiences. I had a good time during the trip. I had my wallet stolen on the bus. I had to run to catch up with Tom. No one told me that he had failed. We had a heavy frost this morning. We've had a lot of rain this year. I had a dream about you last night. I had him paint the gate last week. I wish he had attended the meeting. No one told me that she had failed. She had to take care of her sister. They had trouble finding the place. Tom told us that he had a headache. We had a very good time last night. We had a very hot summer this year. I had my pocket picked on the train. I had the gardener plant some trees. I had to wait more than 3 hours. I thought you had to get up by 7:30. She asked me what had become of him. He had no idea why his wife left him. She had a good time talking with him. She told him that her father had died. They concluded that he had told a lie. How many computers have you had so far? I had an enjoyable 2 weeks in London. He explained in detail what he had seen. I had a hard time making both ends meet. I had no choice but to accept the offer. I worked on Sunday, so I had Monday off. She gave him all the money that she had. You seem to have had that car for years. I had a cup of coffee at the coffee shop. I wish I had taken better care of myself. Michael had a hard time making ends meet. Since I had a cold, I didn't go to school. We had a birthday party for the old lady. I wish I had followed the doctor's advice. Nancy had never seen a giant panda before. They seemed to have had a good time in Rome. We had to walk all the way up to the station. I found the rare book I had been looking for. I had to grab her to keep her from falling. I wish you had not told him about the plan. We had no school on account of the typhoon. He admitted that he had committed the crime. He admitted that he had stolen the treasure. He had no difficulty explaining the mystery. I had almost finished my work when she came. I had my wallet stolen from my inner pocket. If you hadn't had advice, you would have failed. She had no intention of quarreling with him. Tracy had never used chopsticks before then. Although it rained, everyone had a good time. I had enough time, so I didn't need to hurry. I wish I had bought a ticket for the concert. He told them that he had had a wonderful time. I didn't know he had decided to leave his job. I had a fight with my older brother yesterday. I was absent from school because I had a cold. I had a headache, and I took the day off today. They advertised that they had a house for sale. I could have done better if I had had more time. I had some free time, so I wandered around town. If he had taken my advice, he would now be rich. Mary asked if the cat had drunk all of the milk. She asked him to stay, but he had to go to work. She realized that she had better tell the truth. We had better leave her alone for a few minutes. I came to the conclusion that I had been deceived. I got to the bus stop just after the bus had left. I had some custard pudding for an afternoon snack. She told him that she had seen me there last week. We had less snow this winter than we had expected. I had just finished my homework when Ted phoned me. If you hadn't had my advice, you would have failed. He gave an explanation about why he had been absent. She had a good time talking with him about his trip. She had no difficulty in learning the poem by heart. When I got to school, the race had already finished. He finally realized that Mary had made a fool of him. He saw at a glance that his daughter had been crying. I had hardly left home when it began to rain heavily. Tom said that he had been cleaning the house all day. When I got home, I noticed that I had lost my wallet. No sooner had Tom turned on the TV than the fuse blew. She had changed so much that I couldn't recognize her. Well, I'm afraid I must be leaving. I had a nice time. If I had bought the painting then, I would be rich now. It's a pity we didn't visit Tom when we had the chance. She asked me what had become of him, but I didn't know. I had intended to finish this yesterday, but I couldn't. If he had studied harder, he would have passed the exam. She forgot that she had promised to call him last night. The train had already left when they got to the station. You had better ask him in advance how much it will cost. If he had been there, I could have given him your message. She wouldn't have married him if she had known him better. The math homework proved to be easier than I had expected. Because I had a bad cold, I went to bed earlier than usual. I missed the last train, so I had to walk all the way home. After the rain had let up a bit, we made a dash for the car. I had a hard time trying to persuade him to cancel the trip. Tom told her that he had written that poem 2 years before. If he had taken his doctor's advice, he might still be alive.